Hey guys, welcome to Euan, Me, and the ISD podcast. I'm your host, Euan Blackman, and I'm going to be doing three conversation-style interviews with our RISD board candidates coming up for the election on May 3rd. Of course, early voting starts on April 22nd, and I want to begin with a conversation with Elaine Bonavita. Elaine, how are you today?
I'm doing great, and I am happy, and I'm so happy to be here with you, Euan, today, and all our viewers. Welcome to the RISD family and friends.
Thanks so much. It's a pleasure seeing you here, and thank you for agreeing to do this. We've had some folks back out of doing these sort of informal conversations about what your vision and hopes are for the RISD should the folks elect you to be their representative. And I'd like to talk to you guys back there. Please do get out and vote because your voice counts. And as a way of introduction, Elaine, if you'd like to tell us a little bit about yourself, how did you get to this point and decide that you wanted to run for RISD candidate?
Yes, it was not in my plan until the middle of January of this year. The filings had already started, and I had retired from the Richardson School District as a permanent substitute teacher, a degreed substitute teacher with Mark Twain Elementary.
Well, thank you for that. We always enjoyed the service.
Oh, thank you. I loved it. I miss my babies, though. Okay, now, Euan, that's why I'm back, because I miss my babies. And all those children are my babies, and I miss them. And when they're not little babies, but I call them my babies, my children.
Yeah, we all call
I
my
love
kids,
them.
for sure.
And at Mark Twain, they call me their grandmother. At Mark
Right.
Twain, right up to sixth grade.
Right.
I love it. So that got me going. And so it was just a prompting, and people say religion doesn't belong in government. I've always said, well, you know, God created government. Okay,
Fair
so
enough.
who can argue with that? Okay, are we agree? So when people ask what happened, just real quick, I was praying in my daily devotionals, and the Spirit just impressed me that I needed to get involved and run for the school board. And this was in the middle of January. And I'd already been out of school, not quite a year, you know, just a half a year from the year
Right.
before I retired from Mark Twain on 24 May. And so I told the Lord, and this is the craziest thing, I said to the Lord, I says, Lord, you got the wrong person. I have no transportation, I have no car, and I have no money. I'm a retired senior now that I don't work. I'm on Social Security. I says, Lord, you got the wrong person. I came back with 2 suitcases, Euan, 3 years ago from serving overseas in the King's Public Schools. And I taught religion classes in the King's Public Schools. Isn't that great? Well, I come back with 2 suitcases. So I don't have a car. I haven't replaced it yet. With this economy, who can? At my age, a retired senior, you got to help us, Euan. We need help. You got to do
I'm
a
a
show.
teacher. I'll tell you the program as a teacher. Just skint as they come.
See, okay, so you understand.
Absolutely.
So I prayed, and I've been fasting and praying for every single weekend for 12 weeks now, a 24-hour fast and pray for 12 weeks in a row. And Euan, I get help every time I ask the Lord for help, what to do, how to do it. With no money, no car. I have drivers. My campaign manager, Linda Swanson, is here today, and she drives me around. And everybody else is taking turns driving. I have volunteer drivers, folks. Volunteer drivers for my campaign. Isn't that a kick, huh? But well, we want to thank everybody for helping me.
Absolutely.
So I got here
it's a
from
team
that.
effort.
So that's how I got here from that. And I filed my papers, and I don't take donations, Euan. And somebody dropped off at my door. See this over here? I'm pointing to this, folks. They dropped off at my door 35 campaign signs like this.
Oh, that's great.
And they said, this is for you. You need some signs. I says, I don't have any money. They said, this is for you. And they gave me my postcards, too. They dropped by 2 weeks later with postcards. And so I've kept under my $1,000 thing.
Nice.
I don't have to report anything. I don't know what they spent. I said, how much you spent? They said, you don't need to know because it's under. And they knew I don't have. So,
Very
folks,
true.
I don't have to report anything. But, you know, Euan, I want the people to know that money doesn't win elections. I have won 6 of 8 elections in my life.
Wisconsin Supreme Court race just the other week showed some of that, with Elon Musk spending millions of dollars.
And see that?
Money doesn't always equal victory.
There you go, folks. So money helps. Hello. But
doesn't buy happiness, but it helps.
It helps. Okay. So 6 of 8 elections, spending under $100 each every time. Even the mayor I campaigned for, he was a baker in Waterloo Island. He won the election, and we had no money. I was his manager. I said, you don't need money. He ran on the issue of sidewalks. He won the election, folks, on sidewalks issue with the help of the Lord, and he was our new mayor. He beat out the political machine. With no money. I beat out the political machine on the school board, a director at large for me in 1990s. I beat out 15 candidates And I had no money, and I went on the pro-life issue, and I was new in town. I married an Iowa boy. City councilor at large, I had no money. $50 donation was given to me. I didn't ask for it. And I made my signs. I painted them myself with
cool.
tomato sticks and on cardboard. And the at-risk kids in the neighborhood that I was working with, I was volunteering. That's how I got involved in the city council. And I won the election, city councilor at large. No high school degree, that was it. So I got involved, and now I'm using this experience. Here's the fun thing I want our viewers to see. Anybody can do this. Anybody, Euan, can get involved. They say, well, you know.
They can, for sure.
I know, they say.
And I encourage you folks to think about that as well.
See, now, Euan, we need to encourage our viewers, because people say, well, I'm working, or I'm retired, or I've got kids at home. Well, I was a single unwed mother when I ran for the city council at large, and I was working a full-time job.
That's great.
And I took on the city, and I did a statewide tax relief program to bring tax relief, property tax relief, to the entire state of Massachusetts when I was a city councilor. Proposition 2.5, and that brings me here today. I have the experience to do this job.
That's awesome. And thank you for being here today and putting yourself forward for election. I think that's awesome. And we need more people to do that. If more of our community stepped forward just to run for office, we would have a much more of an engagement with our ISD. And you know how much I love that, the interconnectedness of the community and the ISD. So let's jump right into it then and start off with, we set up 5 questions for each candidate. They got these questions ahead of time, and it's going to be more conversational. So we'll just go back and forth on these topics and see where we land, see if we can find some nuggets of truth in there, or some gold nuggets, hopefully, and just discuss what these issues are facing our community and our school district. And to preface that, by the way, as we discuss issues, we don't want to get mired into this positivity approach of like, everything's great, everything's great. We love the RISD. If we didn't, we wouldn't be spending our time doing this.
Yes.
I'm a volunteer. Elena is volunteering her time.
Yes, this is a non-paid job. You remind them that. We don't get money for
This is my home that we are filming this in on my iPhone. So understand this is a brass tacks sort of thing, down to the level of rubber bands and sticky tape, but it'll make MacGyver proud. So for the old folks, there's a reference.
Okay, yeah.
Student discipline. Let's talk about student discipline. It's become the #1 concern for teachers and parents, rightfully so.
Yeah.
And what powers or responsibilities that you have as a board member that you could use to help find solutions for this complex, difficult, and honestly, somewhat disturbing issue we're having?
Okay, and I love that question, because every school board member, the Board of Trustees, when I was on the school board at large in the 1990s, I had the power as a school board member to put anything I wanted on the agenda, okay? You prepare your work, you have to have all your documentation in place, do your proposals, whatever, and it goes through the superintendent, and what they do is they get it on the agenda, and you can vote on it, or it can go to a workshop, whatever you want to do. If I wanted a workshop, I'd ask for a workshop. If I wanted them to take a vote on it, boy, I'd prepare them with all the information. They'd get it in their packet. You know, you get in your packet 3-5 days before the meetings, we get that. And they would get it, but I'd lobby. Now look, I'm going to tell the folks, you have to have good lobbying skills. You know, that's critical. I have a note here to remind the viewers, good lobbying skills as a trustee is important, because you need to be able to know how to work with both sides of any issue. And you'll find you'll have a friend on the Board of Trustees who's for this, and the other one is not. And then the next time you come around with an issue you have, which I would have, then they're opposite sides again. One's for me, one's against me. And so you have to know how to be diplomatic, you know, and to be happy.
And transparent, for sure.
Absolutely.
Through the process.
And always both sides. So for me, I'm an investigative journalist. I published 2 newspapers while I was on the city council, and another time in Utah when I was writing the law to give the right to vote on the coal power plant. And I made history there, Euan. See, people can, that's the power.
So that's the tack you take to try and get the discipline issue resolved, to explore avenues of approaches.
Yes, and do that, okay? And then sit down and discuss it in workshops. Or here's the thing, when you ask that question, I grew up in Catholic schools. I wanted to be a nun. I wanted to be a nun.
Bring the rulers.
But plans changed when I slipped up and I became a teenage unwed mother. So that plan went aside. And so I went on with my life in a different path to harass the citizens on cities and schools, I guess. The Lord had another plan for me, instead of being a nun. Okay.
Still using the ruler in the proverbial sense, though.
That's my true vocation. Okay. So here I am with you too today. So anyway, so the Catholic schools, they have a good plan, and for discipline, they don't have these issues, because, well, in our days, you asked me a question about how do we discipline back in those days.
A rule on the hands, right? where I was from in South Africa, where they'd use canes. That's a bamboo cane this long, and they'd make you touch your toes, and they'd actually just whack you from behind. So a little more brutal for sure. And look how I turned out. No problem.
You turned out great, and I dropped my mic.
It's all good. No worries. It'll clip right back on. There you go.
It's not clipping
and then let go.
back on.
There you go.
Okay.
Awesome.
All right, so here's the plan, the ruler. You know what, and folks, now Euan and I, we're having some fun here, and we want you to have fun listening to us because we want you to get involved in this election, and it can be fun. It doesn't matter if you're husband and wife, if you're disagreeing on who's doing what on the board, don't worry about it. Just have fun and just focus on what you believe, and it'll turn out okay. Isn't that right, Euan?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And speaking of fun, one of the things that a school board member has as their duty and responsibility is to hire the superintendent,
yes,
hold them accountable,
yes,
including through the annual evaluation.
yes.
What metrics would you, as a board member, include in that evaluation to ensure that all of our students are learning? In fact, as our North Star goal puts it, is meeting or exceeding the academic growth goals. What would you as a trustee do to ensure that was happening?
You know, I have an opportunity right now to say something. At the League of Women Voters, the debate, and you were there filming it, they asked a question about the superintendents that they would add something. And it caught me off guard because, you know, I didn't want to be critical of the superintendent. And so I didn't catch the meaning because the question didn't come across. Your question is clear. I want to commend you on this question. The question they handed us that day, it wasn't clear on the superintendent thing, the issue.
Okay, how so?
So I just want to correct that. So I said, well, I wouldn't have changed that, okay? Because I thought it would make trouble in the community. The way they worded it, it was not coming out good. But here, the way you worded it, I'm right on with you right now. So look, we have, what is it? The Texas Association of School Boards, folks, Euan, okay? Now listen to this. So they have a standard annual evaluation for superintendents, and it's a prototype that we can use.
Yes.
Folks, we can build on it, we can take away, we can add to it. And here's the power of the Board of Trustees. I write laws with my law background from Texas Wesleyan Law School. I write laws, and I've changed things for the city, schools, and county with propositions I put on the ballot. I've changed them while I've been on the boards and city councils.
Wow,
that's what I do
good.
because I can take any law, any amendment, any policy, I can reword it, make sure it's legal, okay? And I put it before the governing board, even when I'm on it, and we can vote on it or bring it to the people, which I've done. And these have been passed. So for the superintendent, this is what I would do. You know, they say we can review the recommended plan, and they have that in their evaluation reports that they say we can do that. But here's the thing. I would look at it, what they send us. I want to see what they send us, not the one that the school district has right now. I want to compare it. Do you see what? See, yes. as an investigative journalist, I want to see both sides. And I always wanted to present the facts of both sides. So I'd have to see the one the Texas Association of School Boards has compared to the one we have. Fair enough, right? When I'm on the board, and I will compare. And one other thing I wanted to do, you know, they have surveys they send out all the time, right, Euan? We send out surveys. Are you for surveys if we send them out in the schools, like for parents?
As a way to get temperature, it's not a bad idea.
Okay.
Who does it and how they ask the questions are open for debate, for sure.
Because the questions can change the answers.
They sure can. And
so we have to be very careful. So with my law background, I would definitely review any surveys going out from now on. I would ask as a board of trustees to review them first so that the board could approve it. I want it to come before the board, surveys. I want us to vote on it and review it, but come ahead of time to us. Yes, and for me with my law background, folks, I'm going to check and make sure what Euan just said, because that's what happens. They'll ask the questions. Even on polls, they'll do it.
Who was the president that said trust but verify, right?
I like that. So I want to get that to go before the board, and then Reagan.
Sorry.
Reagan's the man.
The age, you know, they come slowly, but they come.
they come. So I would really want to do that. But here's the thing. With the survey, I would want to survey the teachers and the principals. And we might have, you know, you can't send it out to all the parents, but we have parent committees.
And we do some of that now, by the way. So we do send, you guys have those surveys in your mailboxes often. Some you return them, some don't. We have a decent return rate on some surveys, others abysmal. But those help to guide us, right? And guide what our thinking is of how the superintendent is working. What is the superintendent doing and how they're achieving that? And by the way, I don't want to make this personal to Richardson ISD in particular with Superintendent Branham, although she is our current superintendent. This will be for all superintendents going forward and how they work the job. What are those things that you would bring in other than surveys, what other things could you look at holding the superintendent accountable for to make sure meeting or exceeding our academic growth goals?
That's it. And now what you just brought up, that feeds into me with my Catholic education background. My son was public education, and I was part public education too. But you know, the Catholics, the Catholic school structure, they do their evaluation of their superintendents, whoever they have over their entire districts, okay? And they do this. And I would want to, I would so wonderfully want to compare what they do in their annual evaluation and compare it to what we're doing. Because you see, when you go back to your discipline issue, they don't have a discipline problem. They won't tolerate it, in the schools, okay?
Right.
Private education or Catholic schools.
But one might push back. Catholic schools can really expel a student a lot easier than, say, a public school could. And so they get to choose their clientele a little more readily.
But I would disagree with you.
Okay,
Anybody, it's very easy to expel a student or suspend a student in either way, private education or public education. But we're going to get on to that too.
Okay,
because,
yeah, I'd love to hear that.
Yeah, okay, because that's a whole nother story right there. So what they're doing right, I want to see, and I want to have a workshop and compare. When I'll do my own research, I'm an investigative journalist, okay, and publisher of newspapers. I'll do my own research on my own as a board of trustee. I'll bring my findings to a workshop, and I'll say, let's look at this, what they're doing, and it works for them with their superintendent evaluations. And let's compare it to what we're doing now with the Texas association and with the private school. Can we do that?
Yeah,
so now
that'd be great. And of course, to do those things takes resources, right? It takes financing. It takes the ability to pay for those things, to do time of the people. And we have tough inflationary times right now, yes, as we all have. We all know how our bills are going. RISD, by the way, fortunately in a far better position than many districts. And I'll give a kudos, as I often do, to David Pate and his team for what they're able to accomplish to be fiduciarily responsible with our money.
I agree.
For the most part.
Yes,
but how would you help prioritize those expenditures on both the M&O side and the INS side of the budget, without getting in the weeds, of course, about the two sides, and have a whole other podcast on that I did a couple of years ago. But in this regard, what would you do as a board member to help those priorities?
So for this question, and then I go back to my days on the school board, and I go back to in the 1990s now, I was a school board member in Iowa, and on the city council in 1978. I go back to those days because this is what I did. And I'm going to do it again now when I'm on the board of trustees. I will advocate for this. I had a policy, and I named it Use It or Lose It. And what that means is user fees. So I encouraged our city to save the taxpayers. Taxpayers want to save money. I'm here, folks, for you, the taxpayers. I'm here for the teachers and the parents and the students. But listen to this. Taxpayers, we get left out in the debate sometimes, don't we? But I always represented the taxpayers, Democrats, Republicans. It doesn't matter. All walks of life. I welcome you folks, because this is nonpartisan, the city council. Isn't that right? And the schools.
Is. Absolutely.
I can defend everybody, and I don't get any bad grades for that, you see, literally, because I can defend anybody. So when I did user fees for privatization, the first thing I endorsed as a city council was to privatize trash pickup service. We were doing it ourselves, the city. And we found, when I studied it out, we found we saved money by privatizing it. Let another company do it. We don't have nothing to do with it. We pay our monthly bill. And it was cheaper than what we were doing, and everything that's involved, everything that's involved with it.
So for districts such as ours, some might caution by use it or lose it fee pay, which sounds like a good idea for the most part. I think for a large portion of our population probably is. But what do we do with those impoverished students who qualify for free and reduced lunch? The 40% or so that we have in the elementary schools.
Yes, but that's not what it refers to. So the use it or lose it. So we go back to the schools. You're so funny. You got me going here. I'm sorry.
No,
so he's editing me. You see, you're a good editor.
I got to throw it back for sure.
Okay. So here, the use it or the lose it for schools is, if you use it, you pay for it in schools, and that's what we ask. If it's a sports program that the mainstream students are not participating in, and it's going to drain our resources, and just a small number of people, whatever it is, it's not your major sports, different programs. If they're going to use it, they should pay for it. The good example, and if not, then we don't offer the program if the parents aren't willing to pay for it. So for schools, so for schools, this is really important. So the major thing here is explore. A parent called me today. I'm starting to get parent phone calls like I did years ago. 60 calls a week I would get from parents and taxpayers. I'm starting to get parents. I talked to Lauren today. She wanted questions off the debate Saturday. And I says, is your child in the Explore program? And she says, yes, she is, after school hours. And I says, and do you pay for that? And she says, I do. And I says, of course. And I says, are you happy with it? She says, I love it because we're not there. They're taking care of our kids until we pick them up after school.
That's a good program.
Sometimes 2
Yes.
hours. And they do it in the high school and junior high. And I says, that's what I'm referring to now with user fees. That's a user fee. The parents who want it, they pay for it. And if they're late picking up a child, and guess what? They're fined and they have to pay extra money, even if they're late picking up their child.
Yeah, no, I'm familiar with that side of it. But what do we do with those parents who perhaps can't afford it and need it?
Yes. Well, here's the thing for that. This is what I'm very, very big on this. You know how in life, whenever you need something, you have to fill out a financial hardship application for medical bills, especially for that, okay? Even when people have insurance, you file for that. Well, we can set up, and they should have a plan like that, but they have to prove that they qualify for financial hardship, because you just can't say somebody
like free or reduced lunch qualification style.
And
Fair
for
enough.
anything, even for free or reduced lunch, I think that is they have to fill it out, and we have to check it out, because there are people who are not honest, okay, and they'll try to get free anything, and so we have to understand we're limited in our resources. We agree. So for me, raising up a child alone all my life, I'm very aware of the need. If we need help, we need to ask for it, but we need to have to show that we're doing our best and we do need help. So nobody's going to get left out, folks. I'm very big on that, and that's not going to happen with
every student, every day, I think, is the mantra we have often.
That's exactly
all means
right.
all y'all, all y'all.
Yep. Now,
so if I segue that idea, because there was a change in the state this last year, right? So talk about finances and strained finances. The state actually supplements the ISD with money for their textbooks, and they have done that for many years.
Yes.
I was on the review committee for 2024 for textbooks. That was the last review committee we'll have as a
with
state.
With the state? Were you
with the state,
Good
I was.
For you.
So that's the last one we'll have, reviewing actual textbooks, because now online is the curriculum instruction way. And so I'd want to ask you, what careful steps would you take on how the district, and in fact all Texas schools now, who receive textbooks through House Bill 1605, which limits us to online-only text. And one modifier to this, I met with a district official earlier, and the modifier to this is the state will provide hard copies. I haven't seen them yet. Nobody has yet. We just ordered those. So once we see those hard copies, it'll be interesting. But nothing like a textbook. All the studies show that textbooks are a good way to go. But we've changed it now in Texas, and we have this online centralized curriculum down in Austin. And in order to get that $60 per student supplement that the state gives us for curriculum, we have to go through their online resourcing. So what's your take on that, and how would you ensure that our students get that enriching curriculum they need from a diverse set of sources and not just one single monorail sort of way to go?
My response to this, first response, when I read, and this is it, folks, you can just go online, Google HB 1605, just Google it, and you'll see a couple of sites, and get the site that actually has a page, and I've just printed this off, Euan, this is it. And it goes and explains to you very nicely.
Can they get that on your Facebook page or somewhere to read that? You put a little electronic copy up?
You know what? I'm going to put this on my Facebook page, folks, okay? So this is what we're going to do. We'll share it with you. I like that. I will. So here's the plan for HB 1605. I like it. There's some in there I may not agree with, but I'm a textbook person. I got to have that. Do you folks, anybody out there relate to me? Now, the newer generation, everything is screen time. It makes me crazy. I walk in the classroom, and they've all got their iPads, and it's like they're addicted to them. And when I want to get them to books or come up to the board and write on the board, they look at me like I'm a zombie.
Writing, blackboard, chalk, what?
help me out. Come on, moms and dads.
Yeah.
Grandparents, are you following me on this? Grandparents, stay with me. I'm a senior here. We want the books, okay? Well, I'm a publisher of books myself. Go on Amazon, find my name, buy my book, support my campaign. I had to put in a plug.
For sure.
There we go.
For sure.
So HB 1605. Okay, so here it is. What I like about it, Euan, the phonics. Do you know, in everything I've said, in all my debates, in everything I've talked about, in all the surveys I've answered questions, Euan, I always say, the question I say, everybody's asking me questions, and I want to put a question out to everybody.
Don't forget the old phonics joke, right? I'm hooked on phonics, work it for me. Sorry. I know, dad jokes. There's more coming, trust me.
Okay, so the host
Carry on.
The host is taking a break right now, and here I am, folks, over here. We're
Back at
having
1605.
fun. It's
Yeah,
okay.
and we're back.
Okay, so for my question that I put out in this campaign is, I'm going to say this, we took God out of our schools, 50 years ago? How did that work for you? All these problems now in our schools trace back to that. I want to go back to some of the basic 3 R's. And one of them is what? With reading phonics. I mean, you sound out the word, folks, okay?
It's a proven program.
Yeah, and for ESL kids, on this HB 1605, folks, here it is. They've got on here phonics, a return to phonics. This is a part of it, and it's already been introduced. It was started in the year, 2023 to 24. It's already in place. That was the first one. Phonics now, sounding out the words. Now, this brings to mind the ESL students, English second language. I could not speak English when I started school. Okay, I'm Latino, Italian.
So now, by the way, they've changed that for those at home following along. It's no longer ESL. Now they go with EB, emerging bilingual. Sorry, that was this year's change.
Okay.
You're welcome.
We'll talk about this after the show. Okay.
No, this is the state of Texas for you. They just change words all the time. It used to be ELL, ESL.
Yes.
Just a bunch. I speak 3 languages, and so I think it's very important to 2 languages. Well, the third one's a bit sus. But at the end of the day, multilingual is great. Being able to speak multiple languages, especially if one of those languages is Spanish, especially in our neighborhood. In our city.
Yeah, and so I was a bilingual teacher because I'm Latino and Italian, okay, in Mark Twain Elementary. That's where I was, okay? So here's the plan with this for phonics. When I was English second language and I couldn't speak English, I got straight in Catholic schools and public schools, both. I went through with straight A's, and everybody says, well, how do you do that? Because our kids today, okay, English second language, they're not doing so good, some of them, and that's a problem. They always ask us, what would you do different?
Right.
Well, hello, folks, HB 1605 phonics. We had to sound out the words, and when I couldn't speak English, sounding out the words, I could learn English better. I was learning in school. They spoke Italian in my home. Okay, not Spanish. It was Italian because I had Spanish, one side's Italian, the other side. So, yeah, and so I wasn't hearing it at
That's why
home.
you talk with your hands so much.
I do, because
now I see it. Now I see it.
Hey, this is what I do. I
Not
can't
so you know.
talk without my hands.
It's not a stereotype. It's a fact.
Yeah, if you want to mute me on your show, tie my hands.
Indeed.
I won't talk. But here's the plan. I had straight A's in school, folks, because the teachers took their time, and the 3 R's, reading, writing, math, the math, oh my goodness, I gotta confess, I can't do that special math today. And the kids can't do it either. And they're looking at me. They're looking at me, and I'm going, what is this math?
Yeah.
And when I was in school, it was the basics of math, reading and writing. And I couldn't speak English at first, but I learned because it was so easy to learn.
Absolutely.
But the way it is now, if I couldn't speak English now coming into school, like our kids now, and I empathize with them, I do, because I teach the ESL kids at Latino groups, okay, at school. And I empathize with them because it's harder for them because we don't have the 3 R's, the basics. It's complicated for the mainstream students who have English first language.
Right.
Can we empathize with this problem? I want to change and start doing something, but they already did it, phonics. And that's one of it. And this is a 3-stage thing to bring parents more transparency. I love it. And for teachers, since I'm a teacher and you're a teacher, planning time. It says here we want to honor our teachers. From the state Republicans, we want to honor our teachers. Isn't that wonderful? This
push it all day long.
Study it out, read it up, folks.
And just in all honesty, for the folks watching, I was not a fan of 1605 because of the centralized curriculum and the bringing everything back down to Austin. But there are parts of it that are super, that are great. Writing cursive is one we could add at some point in the future, because I do believe that that's a skill that we thought was useless.
That's right.
And then we sure have discovered later in life that we wished we hadn't. So we have a block of students out there that we cheated of that skill. And that's unfortunate. But to wrap it up a little bit on this podcast, and thank you again for being here.
But you forgot one thing real quick. With HB 1605, you told me about the Blue Bonnet Learning. It's getting confused with the Blue Bonnet curriculum, and we get $60 per student to adopt it into our schools. We have to vote. I would vote to bring it in, okay? Let's look at it. Let's try it, $60 per student. Let's look at it. It's the curriculum approved by the state, but it's not the same as the Blue Bonnet Learning under HB 1605. And that's just instructional materials that it's explaining it, Blue Bonnet Learning. Do not confuse it. People are talking to me about it. It's been confused. It is not the Blue Bonnet curriculum. Yes.
Sure.
So we need to know that. I wish they wouldn't have used those two terms for the same curriculum. And
thank you for clarifying that. But the Blue Bonnet being a national state flower.
Yes.
I have a couple out there growing in my yard. I really love the flowers. Beautiful flower, but Blue Bonnet is going to be the mockingbird maybe next. But as we wrap, as a board member, connecting with the community is vitally important. Engaging with the community.
Yes, it is.
How would you go about getting the folks out there in TV land, etc., old people saying that TV land, getting excited about the ideas or proposals that you would bring forth to improve our districts? If you could, let's try a 90-second elevator pitch. Like if you want an elevator, I just push the button, ding, and I want you to go this is that old salesman thing, right? The 90-second elevator pitch. Tell me how you would go about to get the community excited, and you can use whatever example of your plan that you would like.
Tie my hands.
There you go. I'm not allowing extra time for hands. They allow extra time for interpreters, the board meetings. We don't allow extra time for hands.
Okay, you're killing me. So what Euan is doing right now, folks, viewers out there, I want you to think of what Euan is doing right now. He's doing a community service to you right now by bringing all of this information, interviewing us candidates, and he does this all the time with issues. We thank you for the service. Now, I did what Euan is doing. I did that for 4 years with a television talk show when I was a school board director, because the media was blacking out what I was doing. The media wouldn't let the people know in the newspapers. Nothing was going on. So, and when I tried to talk on the board, sometimes the board president would mute me if I was bringing up something that they told us that we couldn't talk about. They'd tell us ahead of time what we could or couldn't do. We were, it was a show. They wanted a show for the people, and I didn't like to do that. Right. But here's the thing. So I would do, well, I'm not going to compete with him with a talk show, but I did that for 4 years, and but here's the thing. I would ask you, and you support me. I want calls to you, and now I would like I will be on the board of trustees, because you, the viewers, you, the voters, you're going to believe in the work I've done, and I'm going to continue doing it for you. I need your vote to get me on that board, and I'm going to ask you, and right now in front of the viewers here, I would like to do a report, which I did with other people when I was on the school board. I was a TV host, and I'd bring them on, and I'd bring up the issues that went before the school board and have them report, and I'd ask the questions, and I'd give my input too, because I was a school board member. And so I would like to do a school board report with Euan, however often he thought it might be needed for whatever issues were dividing our community or wasn't getting out. Yes. Folks, could Euan do that? Could he do that with me? I think we get along good.
I love that idea.
Let's get a vote out there. Do you like me and Euan doing this together? Do we have to come?
Trying to steal together a dual. You and me, Elena, and the rest is free. I don't know.
Okay. And we don't get paid for this, folks.
Right,
so, right. We're not getting anything.
But there is actually, to segue that, because I'll do a little plug for my upcoming project that I'll be releasing soon, and that is the school board evaluation. As a teacher, of course, we have T-tests, the Texas Educators Evaluation System. And on T-tests, we are graded on how we perform in the classroom. They come out and watch us and give us all these metrics. And I think it's time we had one for our school board. They're supposed to do one for themselves that they reflect upon. But unfortunately, we often don't see that, and we're shut out of meetings a lot of times. They have behind closed doors.
Yes.
So in the honesty and transparency, I'll be bringing that out for our first 2 school board members who are up for election, Ms. Vanessa Pacheco and Ms. Rachel McGowan. And both of those folks have declined, by the way, to engage in this type of discourse and conversation. And as you saw, we had a lot of fun. Ms. Bonavita and I, Elena and I might not... Elena and I, for those at home, might not agree on everything. We might have different views on things. But when we stop talking to one another, when we stop engaging, that's when we run into trouble. And so part of the Euan, me, and the ISD podcast is to make that interconnectedness between us, the community, and the school district, to bring about positive outcomes for our students, because that's really what we want at the end of the day. Positive outcomes for your kids, my community students. My son graduated JJPS a few years ago, so long gone, actually more than a few years now, 14 years ago. So enjoy the dialogue, enjoy the conversation, and sometimes we're just not going to agree, and that's okay. That is absolutely okay. And
Mhm.
thank you for
It
coming
is.
on and agreeing to
Mm.
talk to us about your ideas,
But
about
but
some
but
of
I
your
didn't get to add
focus.
what I would do though.
Sorry, your 90 seconds ran out
Oh,
now. Sorry, no, but go ahead, go ahead. We'll allow just a little more time. Go ahead, for sure.
Okay, so but we're having fun, but still. Okay, so what I would do is what I've always done on the city council, Euan, and on the school board from years ago. I would still do the same thing. I meet with the parents, I meet with the teachers, I meet with the principals, I meet with the superintendent and the administrators, and I go into all the schools. I would go right into the classroom, sit and observe. I will continue to meet with people, whatever the issue is for, and I will get the information out. I'll have a website form just for me when I'm on the board of trustees. I don't do websites, but I will do one. I'll have an IT tech fix a nice one up for me. We have IT techs at school. Someone can fix one up for the board of trustee, and I will keep you informed on it. As an investigative journalist, I promise you, you will know both sides of the issue, and I will get it out every way I can. And I will never, never, never make a decision without listening to both sides of the issues. And I have a legacy for doing that on the school board before and the city council, and anyone can check my records. So that is my promise to the people. And like you said, we welcome disagreements, but we'll have to respect the law. And we've got so many Senate bills coming down from the state right now.
Yes, ma'am.
Transition and transparency, that's the focus of my campaign. I am good at this. I have experience in this, more experience with my law background, city council, school board, than anyone else on that board of trustees right now, folks. And I will bring you transparency during this transition, which is a good time to build our resources, help our teachers, help our students get ahead of all these problems. And the people that are in private schools and other districts, I will want them lined up in a queue to come back to our schools when they see we have the sign out, welcome. If you're happy, we welcome you. Come back, because we are happy. We have happy students, happy teachers, happy parents. They're not going to leave if they're happy. So we're going to change things. When I get on the board of trustees, that's our focus, happy, happy. But we've got to get a handle on some of the problems, like you said in the beginning of the show. We can't say everything is all okay, because it's not. No, but we wouldn't have declining enrollment if everything was okay. So let's fix what we can. Let's praise what's good, and let's change what can be changed, and take away what's not working. We've got to get out of that mentality. Keep it. If it's not broken, we don't fix it. But if it is, we got to let go of it. Isn't that right?
Absolutely.
And we can do that. And put me on the board, and I would never vote to close those 4 schools, because I had a plan that could have kept them open. And I'm telling you this, and I know from my background and experience, we're going to start opening, not closing anymore.
Well, thank you, Elaine Bonavita. Elections May 3rd. Early voting starts April 22nd. Please get out and vote. Please have your voice heard. This has been Euan, me, and the ISC podcast. I was your host, Euan Blackman. Thank you, and good morning, good evening, good night, or whatever your time is.
Thank you, Euan. Thank you, viewers.